about 7 in the morning. We've decided to come in and try and climb that big sand dune again, now that it's not so damn hot. So that's it up there in the distance. Problem is it's low tide, so gotta walk on a bit. The water's magical though, there's heaps of little stingrays around, which is awesome. We're about to where we made it yesterday. Tough as nails.
We're gonna go to Sirocco today, check that out, get some fuel for the tender and check out the town.
This is what we have to do to get this thing up on the plane with 2 of us in it. Alright, go darling. We're currently here, Moreton Island. Alright, we've got to sail down here, down past Peel, and then into the top of Stratty. Anchor up in there so we can go, and there's a town in here.
Straight off the anchor.
Yeah, hoisted the main and just lifted the anchor and
Away we go.
away we go. Just like that.
So we're about roughly an hour away from North Sirocco, and we are hooning it.
Yeah, from doing nothing downwind to like doing 7.5 knots now. 6.5, 7.5. We're at Point Lookout on the northern tip of Stratty, North Stradbroke. We left the boat on the other side in the anchorage where we stayed last night, and we caught a bus about 20 k's away over the other side of the island. There's no real good anchorages here, so you have to leave the boat over there, and the bus is nice and quick and easy and goes every hour, so it's pretty busy here though, but it is nice. You can see why people rave about coming to Stratty. Oh, look at this service.
We're on our way to Mayora Springs. Ooh, the water is colder now.
That spring just keeps running.
Every time.
It doesn't stop.
I am actually editing our video from episode 18 on the Cape.
How's that going?
It's actually good fun.
Yeah, we're getting into some really good footage. So for those of you that are been watching our 4-wheel drive trip around North Australia, there's some good stuff coming, and by the time you've seen this, you would have already seen that. So we've been in the marina now for almost 2 months, just under, living on board our boat. And our boat's name is Orion, which you're probably going to have seen in earlier episodes.
Yeah.
There was a big push to get onto the boat to try and get it to a standard where we could live on it. Since we've moved on, we've realised this boat needs a lot more
love than
we thought, which I think is probably just general
standard
boat stuff. But look, our list has changed. We had all those big things that we wanted to do to it, and that's sort of evolved into what needs to be done to get it to a point where we can safely take the boat offshore. So maybe less beautifying to start with, and maybe a little bit more practical. We started off beautifying it a little bit.
Not heaps. We like the whole idea for doing the work in the bedroom was to make it more practical, the bed.
And it is, the bed is unreal. So we've got like a same size as a king at the top, at the head, and then it just sort of tapers off in the V-berth area. Some of the best modifications we've made so far is adding in a couple of these bad boys because it's been summertime. Alright, Sirocco II. They've got timers, 3 speeds, 12 volt, and they just work absolute treat. Tuck them out of the way. Put one there in the kitchen. We also put another one in the bedroom, which is awesome. And then we mount the dinghy over the top of the hatch, and that means we can have the hatch open even when it's raining. How are you finding living aboard in the boat?
I'm really enjoying it actually. Really, like more than I thought I would. The first 2 weeks were absolute nightmare, like just shit everywhere. It was really hard work, and I was like, the first couple of weeks I was like, oh my god, this has to get easier. If it doesn't, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this for. Yesterday I fixed our nav lights, so we officially have nav lights again, which is cool. Oh yeah, check this out. I'm totally DIY and just learning off the cuff and just doing it as I can. This is the wiring. Someone's used speaker wire, which is not good on a boat because it's copper oxidizes and corrodes in the salt water. I wonder our nav lights weren't working properly. See this cable? That's completely melted down to bare copper, and that was inside the pulpit tubing. So I've rewired that. I brought proper cable. I spent like 2 or 3 hours getting that down and sealed off yesterday. This is another project I haven't finished, and it was a bit of a rush to get sorted when my parents came on board. But I've replaced the bench top, new sink, mixer, and new mirror, which just, it opens the place up. Nice big mirror. The sink works properly. Under here, where I'm standing, I've also installed a shower and sink, sort of a sump, so all the dirty scummy water from the shower and the sink goes into a sump, and then it gets pumped out, so you're not leaving dirty water in the bilge. But then I've also had to add another bilge pump in to make it safe, so if we have water ingress from somewhere, that the bilge can still handle. So I put 11,000 gallon per hour bilge pump in there. So before we go sailing every time, I'm like, right, get some jobs done and then we're going to go sailing. I've actually got to do some projects today. It's Sunday, so we're back to work tomorrow, working Monday to Friday. Sucks big times. One of my biggest projects that we've been doing on the boat is actually fixing leaks from rainwater. Or when we're sailing, we get waves over the side and it leaks through little bits and pieces. So that's been a big sort of project ongoing, and I'm slowly getting through it, and we're actually like down to one major leak now. When it rains, water's coming in through, I think, through the cap rail and then leaking down inside, and it drips into here. That side of the cap rail I've already sealed, and I've got to come down this side and route out and seal that side. So first of all, let's get the tools. That's what I mean when I say find more work when you're looking. So I'm resealing under here, but I thought I'd do this at the same time, and the wood's not in the best condition, so I better sand that back and seal it. Hopefully I can save it. So what I've done, I've routed out, machined out, pooed out, and cleaned it with a bit of acetone. It's ready to take a bit of sealant under there, and I've also mixed up some epoxy sealant to paint that up so it seals it. So if any water does get underneath, it's not going to wreck the wood anymore. Also countersunk those holes, so when I seal that back down again and bed it down, the butyl tape has somewhere to sit into. Doesn't look too bad. So the product I've been using to seal the wood was recommended
to me by a few people now, and it's actually been really good. It's an Everdure product, well, International Everdure it's called. It's an equal part epoxy sealant, and my understanding is that basically it's epoxy with thinners in it, epoxy thinners, and so it thins it right out, so when it soaks, allows it to then soak into the fibres of the wood, then the epoxy evaporates, the thinners evaporates, leaving behind the epoxy, which then cures and sort of sets in the fibres of the wood. So I've been putting that in every time I lift up a stanchion base or do something with the wood like that. Any sort of penetrations through wood or fixings, or where you're bedding something down, I've been using that first, and it seems to really set nice, and it looks like it's going to do a good job. And I'm only amateur using it, but time will tell, and yeah, it looks like it should be okay. See, this is the epoxy thinners sealant that I've mixed up in here. I've got a part A, part B syringe, and that means I can just draw each one out, mix it up, and I only have to mix up what I need, rather than it makes mixing a lot easier. 15 mils of each gives me 30 mils of product, and that does something like what I'm doing now. No worries at all, goes a long way. I can't remember how much I paid for these. It does last a long time, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing big projects, maybe not so much. So we'll go and stick another coat of this epoxy sealant on the wood up here. All I'm using is just a bit of a rag. That is windy. Nice day to be in the marina, I think. That might be some fun sailing too though. So this is what I started last week. Just trying to, I've had heaps of rain lately, and we're still getting a few little leaks, and it's not as bad as what it was, but I'm just trying to finish this before it rains again. You can see the clouds on the horizon coming in.